how does someone just make that choice to have courage? Because like I said, it's so easy for us to say, just choose to
Yeah.
have courage. But how do you push yourself to that jumping off point where you just
Yeah. I think for me personally, what I needed to do was I needed to do what you've stated already in practice around changing my mindset that I'm legitimately about to, like, I'm not jumping to do a 100-meter sprint. I'm pressing go to run for the rest of my life. And when and the reason why I can say what that looked like for me. So I had a big pivot point in my life. After I'd done all the fear challenges at 18, I landed at 21 years old and I wanted to start my dream business, but I was really scared. And in the last 18 months before that, I kind of knew within me I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the courage to do it up until this junction point. Then I did this activity. I wrote out my own eulogy. What do I want to be remembered for when I die? Created some pain that I wanted to move away from. I was like, fuck, I got to do this. But I'm just so terrified because what taking that leap meant for me was running seminars, speaking on stages, and I didn't feel like I was anywhere near worthy for that yet. And so what I had to do was I needed to make a decision that I was going to commit to the long term. So what that looked like for me was I made a commitment that I was going to run a seminar every week for the next 3 years. And then I said, if after 3 years I don't have the results that I want, it's okay. Like, but I knew, I was like, I'm a logical person as well. We all have pretty solid common sense. I knew that if I did it for 3 years every week in a row, even if I was the worst presenter in the world, after doing it weekly for 3 years, I'd build massive momentum. I'd get better at speaking. So I'd build momentum with my audience. People would start to notice. I'd start to get better at speaking. And I knew that what I desired was going to happen. I knew it. I'm not stupid. I knew that if I ran a weekly seminar, I was going to get good. But that took so much pressure off me, fearing the result of the sprint, fearing the result of running one seminar and having no one show up, or having people show up and booing me, or having people show up and like it, but then no one buying my stuff and me not affording to pay the mentor that I hired, all these fears. But I went, you know what? If I could have no one show up for the first 5 seminars, and then I could have one person show up for the 6th, 2 for the 7th, 5 for the 8th, and then just like keep running it. And it would just be impossible not to make it work. So that took the pressure off me, because there was so much pressure on doing a sprint. Literally very little pressure from a results perspective if I was doing it for 3 years. Still, the fear was never going to be taken away regardless, but I was willing to take the leap because I knew that long term I was going to get to where I wanted, even though I couldn't confirm that short term I wouldn't. What actually happened was, as soon as I detached and said, stuff and I'm in it for the long term, I made 5 sales at my first seminar. I had 30 to 40 people there. What did not expect it. I didn't expect to get anyone. Made 5 sales at a $1,000 price point. Made $5,000. Second week I made $5,000. I never made less than $5,000 a week in that business. And then I stopped doing seminars after 12 weeks. After 10 weeks, I ran 12 seminars in 10 weeks, and I got my first 50 clients, and then I built $1 million business in 10 months. But I didn't expect that. I was willing to just eat shit, do terrible, suck at everything, because that could have also happened. And I was willing for that to happen. So then anything better than that was a bonus. And so if someone's on the edge of that cliff, that taking a leap moment, I would say go long term and give yourself a really easy journey to win, because that's the truth. People overestimate what they can achieve in the short term, and then they underestimate what they can achieve in the long term. I even did that. I didn't expect that I'd do $10 million in business. I way underestimated what I was capable of. And still, I'm now 28 going, I've already done 10 million business. I can do anything. And I'm like, fuck, I could literally become an actor. I could become a rapper. I could become a $100 million entrepreneur. I could literally do anything. I know that because I've already proven in a short amount of time I could do it. But before I started, I was like, what if no one comes? Playing with all these tiny micro problems, as opposed to devoting to the macro, being willing to fail on the micro so I don't fail on the macro. And everyone here can do that with that long-term perspective. And then you're definitely going to get what you want in life, what your heart desires.
You've got a lot of people on this live stream right now nodding their heads frantically as you've been saying that, because this is eerily parallel to a lot of the things that I talk about for Bulldogs, which is trusting the process, right?
Yeah.
And what I call the 5-year rule, which is like, you need to commit to something, fully commit for 5 years, anything that you want. And it doesn't mean that it will take 5 years. It just means you have to be willing to commit for 5 years. If you're willing to commit anything that you want to achieve greatness at. That's the price. And it reminds me when I first learned to juggle, right? This was I took a whiteboard, went up to my room, took 3 socks from the drawer, and I said, every time that I throw the 3 balls up, I'm going to put a tick on the whiteboard, and I'm going to just throw the balls up and try to juggle. I don't even know how, until I have 1,000 ticks on the whiteboard.
Oh,
And
dude, that's so good.
It didn't take 1,000, but I knew in my head that I was like, there's no way that I could put 1,000 ticks on this whiteboard and not know how to juggle. And, you know,
So good.
it's trusting the process. And